Welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the Beer Institute's You Ought to Know, a beer industry employee. We're very pleased to have all of you with us today. Many of you are returning to another installment of this webcast. We appreciate you coming back to learn a little bit more about the beer industry. I'm especially happy to welcome Austin Stein, who is the plant manager of the Owens, Illinois, Danville, Virginia glass facility. Owens, Illinois, or O-I, is one of the most important suppliers to the beer industry, giving us those beautiful bottles that our brewers around the country put their great products in. And we're going to talk about the glass making process. We're going to talk about the impact of Owens, Illinois in communities like Danville, Virginia, and across the country. Hopefully you'll walk away from this segment of the webcast with a little more knowledge about what O-I does, what glass makers do, and how important they are to the beer business and to beer's impact on our economy. So welcome, Austin Stein from Danville, Virginia.
Thank you, Jim. I'm excited to be here.
These things I talked about. Why don't we start just a little bit about your background, Austin, how you wound up in Danville, and what your job is as the leader of the plant there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of start at the beginning. I graduated from Clemson University, and from there was hired by O-I, and I went to our corporate headquarters where I was a project engineer or manufacturing trainee. And there we'd measure bottles in the lab. We'd learn about the quality processes that were required to produce a quality container. And we'd also travel around to different plants, learning the process, but in the meantime, also interviewing in a way for future positions. So I was in that role for about 9 to 10 months. And I was transferred to the Winston-Salem plant where I was an assistant quality manager, just learning the quality processes and systems and learning quality manager. I held that position for about 9 to 10 months and transitioned into a line leader role, which controls safety, quality, productivity, and cost for their production line. And that was a great role for me. It allowed me to learn all the processes throughout the plants. From there, I moved on to quality manager after about a year, and I held the quality manager position in Winston-Salem for about 2 years. And then I moved to production manager in Winston-Salem, and then got transferred to Colorado as a production manager. So I was there for about a year, and then moved to Pennsylvania as the assistant plant manager. And after about 9 to 10 months there, I moved to Danville, Virginia as the plant manager. So quite a few moves, quite a few positions, but couldn't be happier working for O-I, and got to work with a bunch of great people and a bunch of great locations throughout that time. So, couldn't be more thankful.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you've traveled around the country working for O-I, and I think I heard the words quality, safety, efficiency several times in those different jobs that you did, and we're going to get a little bit into that. What was your major in college at Clemson?
I majored in economics, and I minored in management. So, some of my peers are engineers, some are in management. I kind of found a middle ground, and that's worked for me so far.
Excellent. Very good. Well, I'm sure they're pleased to have you in Danville, and you're just really starting out there as the plant manager in Danville. So we're going to talk a little bit about how glass is made in Danville and in Winston-Salem and in Colorado and other places that O-I has facilities. So let's just start where many of our viewers would begin. In a bar, in a supermarket, buying a 6-pack of beer in bottles. Where did that bottle come from?
So it starts with major and minor ingredients. So we combined sand, limestone, salt cake, soda ash, carbon. We mix it all together in batch cans. Those batch cans are then transferred to the furnace via monorail, where they are unloaded, and a combination of electricity and natural gas melts the ingredients to form glass. At that point, 25 to 2,700 degrees, pretty hot. And that is transferred from the furnace to the refiner in Forehearth, where a combination of cooling wind and natural gas again conditions the glass and gets it ready for production. Once the glass is properly conditioned, it exits out of the spout and through an orifice ring where it is cut into precise gobs, which you're seeing on the video right now. It is loaded into a blank and then transferred over to the mold side where it is blown to the bottle that you know today, right? Whether it's a Blue Moon, Sierra Nevada, Miller Lite, that's what you see on the mold side. Once the bottle is created, it is taken down a conveyor and into an annealing layer where it is cooled slowly, because if you cool it too rapidly, you'll cause stress in the glass and then, it could break, and that's the last thing that we want. Once it's cooled slowly, it's inspected by about 25 to 30 different inspections to ensure quality, strength, integrity, and then it's palletized, stretch wrapped, strapped, and then transported to the brewery. And, with all those quality checks, we also have manual checks done by our people, which are random sampling, just to ensure that we provide the best quality product to our customers and then the consumers.
Again, quality, a major aspect of what you're doing there. I've got a bunch of questions related to the process of making the glass. I had the privilege of being in 2 different glass facilities, and that furnace is a big part of the entire operation, the starting point of that whole operation. So I have some questions about that, but I also wanted to make sure that folks knew that they could send their own questions in through the chat. So please do that. Happy to integrate your questions into our discussion here over the course of the next hour or so. So Austin, you walked us through the glass making process. So I guess my first question is, every time I have a beer bottle in my hand, is it the same weight and consistency? And how do you sort of guarantee that that will happen?
So if you have a Miller Lite at one bar and then a Miller Lite at a home, or Sierra Nevada at a bar and Sierra Nevada at home, those will be very, very close in weight. Each different mold and blank design has a specified weight that is controlled automatically and then checked manually to ensure that it's within 0.03 gram or 0.03 ounces typically. So yes, very, very consistent on the weight. And then our quality checks and our process control, enable us to produce a very standardized product to each and every one of our customers.
And of course, beer bottles come in different colors. How do you get to the different colors for the different brands?
So that's just a change in formula. So, if you're looking for an amber or brown beer bottle, you're going to add carbon. For a clear or flint bottle, you're going to add selenium, cobalt for blue, iron chromite for green. So it's about the minor ingredients in the batch formula that give the glass its unique color.
Excellent. What makes glass different from other packaging?
So, glass to me has a premium feel, and I personally just enjoy drinking out of it. It's also inert, so it keeps the product as it was intended, which I think is important. There's no pollution in that beer that you're drinking. And of course, it's 100% closed loop recycling and sustainable, which is very important to O-I, and it's a pillar of what we do.
That 100% recycling is very, very, very important. We're going to talk a little bit about how you get the bottles back here during our discussion, but it sounds like an intense process. Tell us a little bit about the furnace. As I said, I've been to a couple of facilities, and I just struck by the size and intensity and heat coming out of the furnace.
Yes. So, it can seem intense, but I assure you that we have plenty of checks and balances to make sure that we can control the glass flow as needed. Our furnace in Danville, Virginia, pulls about 300 odd tons through it a day, which is a significant amount of glass. But obviously, fire prevention, fire control, all the operating parameters and process controls that we have around there ensure that we can handle that furnace and that amount of tonnage coming out of it.
So let's talk about the Danville plant a little bit. How many bottles do you make in a day or in a year? You're turning out a lot of bottles, obviously.
Yes, we are. So we make about 1,300 bottles a minute through our 3 lines. That is equivalent to about 600 million a year. And if you stacked all those bottles or placed them side by side, that would almost reach around the circumference of the equator. I think we'd come up about 700 miles short. So we'll just say it does for that matter.
600 million a year. Wow. Holy smokes. And it runs 24/7?
Yes, so we are a 24/7, 360 operation. This may not come to a surprise to you, but turns out people love beer. So we are open all the time.
Haha. Well, we thank you for that. We thank you for that. Why don't we talk a little bit about O-I's history? It's got a rich history from the turn of the last century, really. Could you give us a little background on how O-I got to where it is?
Absolutely. So Michael J. Owens, our founder, he created the glass bottling machine in 1903. And, we've grown from there. Currently, we have 73 plants all around the world with over 25,000 employees. And very large company. From one guy who had an idea about a glass bottling machine, it's now become a billion dollar plus corporation. So pretty impressive by him.
And a global corporation.
Yes, global corporation.
So you've got a degree in economics, a degree in management. Why don't we talk a little bit about your job as plant manager in Danville, right there on the border of Southern Virginia and Northern North Carolina? How many people work in the plant? What is a normal day like for you as the leader of the facility?
Absolutely. So there's approximately 150 people at the Danville facility. And, an average day can vary greatly, but my main roles are to, we're responsible for the safety of our people, first and foremost, the quality of the product, the efficiency that we make that product in, and then, ultimately to make it in a cost-efficient manner. What I love about the day-to-day is that it can change and that it can be challenging, but, through that, I think you grow as a person and as a leader. And it also creates an amount of teamwork and camaraderie working, hard with the people around you that I really enjoy.
And you're right there on the border of Virginia and North Carolina. So do you have folks that travel back and forth for work every day?
Yes, I would be one of those. I live just right over the border in North Carolina, and there's probably 10 or 15 of us that make that commute. But the majority are, Danvillians, as you would say. Many of the people that work in the Danville plant, their mom or dad have worked in the plant before them. A lot of generational ties here, and I think that gives us a unique sense of pride in the plant and what we do.
That's great. That's something that you hear in brewers across the country and in suppliers across the country. This idea of multi-generations working in the facility. How long has the Danville plant been in operation?
Since 1976. So what is that? 45 years almost.
Oh wow, very good. I would imagine you're one of the bigger employers in the Danville area.
Yes, absolutely. So it's us and Goodyear as the two major employers, and that gives us a responsibility in the community to make sure we're involved with some of the local charities. We just recently, had a couple foursomes in a local golf tournament. We sponsor a couple of the local breweries parties and festivals. So we want to make sure we can do whatever we can to help the community.
Excellent. Well, you want to make sure you can do whatever you can to help multiple communities where your facilities are. So how many facilities does O-I have across the country?
So in the US and Canada, we have 18 plants. So, and as the slide said, 72 across the globe.
72 across the globe. And how many employees? Well, I see here 25,000 plus employees around the globe, I assume.
Yes.
Excellent. So you talked a lot so far about quality, safety, efficiency. Could you tell us a little bit more? And for you, day-to-day safety is important for yourself and your employees. Tell us a little bit more about how you keep your employees safe as they're making the bottles.
Absolutely. So, with any safety program, you start with PPE. So, foam line glasses, bump cap, steel-toed boots for our guys that work in forming or the hot end. Fire retardant clothing is required. We want to make sure that every process that we have, 1 to 2 layers of protection to keep our people safe. That also includes, strict lockout, tagout policies. We have blocking mechanisms for anything so we fail safe. And then obviously we have fire suppression, anything we need to handle a, safety situation in plant. I have an excellent EHS manager who helps me out every day to ensure our people are safe.
Safety is a key component of what you're doing there. How do you sort of chart that? Do you receive awards, or are there recognitions for within O-I internally as a company, or in the broader industry?
Yes, absolutely. So we have multiple KPIs, or key performance indicators, that we track to. We have a training plan as well as a safety leadership plan that kind of walks us through, checks us off on where we need to be in our safety journey. The last plant that I was at in Brockway, Pennsylvania, actually, while I was there, we received an award for, we were 2 years without a recordable injury, which is an excellent achievement. And, that's just the culture of excellence in Brockway, Pennsylvania. So we were very proud of that.
And I'm sure you brought that culture of excellence to Danville, Virginia as well. So that's good. So you make the bottles, you palletize them, they're sent to the brewer. The brewer fills them with beer, sends them on to the distributor and the retailer. They are enjoyed around the country, and then they're empty. So why don't we talk a little bit about some of the ways that you all make sure that the bottles are recycled. Glass recycling, the recycling of glass is very important to you as a company. Tell us a little bit about the recycling process and what you do with it, with the recycled glass.
So when number one, no glass is trash. So please recycle, and I'll get into why. But once the glass bottle is recycled, it will be picked up either at a residential pickup or a drop-off location, and it will be sent to a processor who then, examines it for quality, removes any contaminants out of there. And once the recycled glass, which we call cullet, is ready to go, it will be shipped back to us, and will be sent to us, and then added back into our mixture. And why that's important is that for every 10% of cullet use that we can use, it reduces our energy needed to melt out by 3 to 5%, which obviously reduces greenhouse gases as well. So it's obviously very, very important for O-I to encourage recycling, and then do whatever we can in local communities as well as nationwide to put recycling at the forefront of people's minds.
So you mentioned cullet. What exactly is cullet?
So cullet is recycled glass, but more specifically for us, it's a returnable or non-returnable container. But it's not stovetops or like cookware. That is stuff that would be processed out for us that melts at a much higher temperature, which our furnace is not able to melt out. So that's what our processor does to ensure that we have quality recycled glass, and then a quality container at the end as well.
So you're really looking for the beer bottles or equivalent to beer bottles to be able to turn them back into future beer bottles.
100%, yes.
Yeah, excellent. And this idea that glass is 100% recyclable is very important. Glass is a little heavier than some other packaging. It does not need to go in the trash. It can be used over and over again, right?
Exactly. There's no limit on the amount of times that glass can be recycled. And that's why it's so important to us, because, you know, the more we can use up to 95% recycled content in our batches in specific processes. So the more glass that we get, the better for the environment. It helps the circular economy, as I said.
So you spend a lot of time working with other groups to promote recycling of glass. One of them is Keep America Beautiful. And you're involved in an initiative with Keep America Beautiful. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how long O-I has been involved and what your role is in that initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2018, O-I actually won the Vision Award for corporate responsibility and sustainability, and that was due to some of our targets and the challenges we gave ourselves to meet, and that includes reducing greenhouse gases by 25% by 2030, by reducing our water usage by 25% in 2030, and then also just overall reducing our social awareness and reducing waste. So there's some pretty lofty goals, and we're well on our way to achieving them.
That's excellent. Actually, Sarah asks a question that I think you've sort of touched on, but I'll ask it in a different way here. Can glass bottles be refilled and reused instead of just being melted down? Sounds like they're used over and over again, and there's always in the glass making process a certain amount of recycled content in the new product.
Yes, there is. So in the Danville facility, most of our containers have 30 to 35% recycled content. And to Sarah's question, you know, there are bottles that are produced that are returnable, and they'll say that on the label, where you give them back to a supplier, they're cleaned, verified for quality, and then filled again, which is excellent as well.
Well, I guess that's how your founder, Mr. Owens, probably started in the business, right? The beer and soda business used to be all about refillable bottles.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's how he got his start.
And obviously the evolution of the product and the business has moved from the refillables into this infinitely recyclable product that can be created over and over again. So that's all about sustainability. So let's talk a little bit more about this sustainable package that is glass. There's a lot of in making the package. There's a lot of you've over time created a lot of innovations around energy efficiencies. Could you talk a little bit about what your company does to find efficiencies in the production process?
Yes. So obviously the recycled content is huge. You know, we want to get that as high as we can to not only recycle, but to reduce our energy usage and reduce our greenhouse gases. Every furnace as well has a energy optimization curve. So we use just the right amount of energy to melt out the glass and produce a great product. You know, we also have smaller things like LED lighting, grassroots recycling programs in the plant and in the community. One great one actually that I will share is in Greeley, Colorado. There's a Crabtree Brewing. In that area, there was no recycling programs or glass recycling programs. So O-I and Crabtree Brewing teamed up. O-I bought them a trailer, and they kind of marketed, hey, there's glass recycling here at the brewery. Please bring your glass bottles back and drop them off. And at this point, that trailer is getting filled up every 10 days. And that cullet is then going to get processed, and then it's getting sent back to the Windsor, Colorado plant that I worked at. And now it's made into more glass bottles. So the cycle continues.
And I think, you know, in talking to your industry trade group, the Glass Packaging Institute, I think that kind of program happens in O-I facilities around the country and in other glass, some of your competitors' facilities too. So it's an easy and convenient way to for consumers to be able to make sure that they're doing the right thing with their empty bottles.
Yes, absolutely. There's big success stories in Pennsylvania around the similar kind of concept with drop-off trailers, and they've been expanding because, people, they don't want to throw away a glass bottle. That feels wrong. They just need an avenue with which to recycle it. And that's what O-I tries to help in certain communities. For example, in Greensboro, which is, the closest bigger city to Danville, they just recently stopped residential pickup for glass bottles. And, I got wind of that, and I was reading online, and people were upset in that area. And now they started off with 3 drop-off locations for glass bottles. That's grown to 6 and 7. And, I was just talking to one of my counterparts in the sustainability team at O-I, and we are involved in that. We want to be a part of making that happen and bringing more drop-off locations to people. So whatever we can do to help that, we will.
Well, I mean, recycling, you need convenience to have good recycling. And, you're dependent on various programs that cities and towns do that could be efficient, or they might not be efficient at all. So having your company get in on this in terms of creating these drop-off facilities is very important. And it sounds like it leads to lots of future cullet for you to use in the process.
Yes, absolutely. Currently we have room to increase our cullet percentage. The issue is the supply. So the more we can get out there and get the word out about recycling and facilitate these programs in our communities, the better for the environment and the better for us. So we're both pulling in the same direction, which is nice.
That's for sure. And I understand that your company is moving in the right direction around reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Austin?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I touched on. Our goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 25% by the year 2030. Recycled content goes into that. Energy efficiency curves go in that to make sure we're not using as much fuel or overkilling the fuel on the furnace. And then we're also looking into alternate fuel sources that may give us better benefits and decrease our greenhouse gas emissions. So there's a lot going on around sustainability. Obviously, that's a pillar of O-I and something that we're actively seeking.
And another pillar is innovation. We have a question here related to innovation. So why don't you talk a little bit about what innovation looks like for your company over the next 3 to 5 years? Jim asks, what does innovation, new products look like ahead over the course of the next 5-year period?
Yeah, I would like to. There's 2 that I know well, and I'm excited about. The first one is the drink tainer, and this bottle has a larger mouth on it. It's like a 42 millimeter mouth. It kind of resembles a bar glass. And what's cool about this is it's actually sealed on premises at breweries. So that gives you the ability to maybe get a to-go flight of beer where they're just sealing 4 bottles for you. You can pick your selection. Actually, the Lagunitas tap room is currently doing this. So you can, pick a couple selections here and there. They'll crimp it for you. And now you have a to-go beer that you just picked out on premises. I know when I heard about this, I immediately contacted our new product development team and was like, hey, I need you to send me about 100 of these. And once COVID's done, we'll go to the brewery and I'll buy one of the crimpers for them and they can fill us up. So that was very exciting.
Well, let's talk a little bit about COVID. Obviously, you can't make glass in your home quarantined. What did you need to do starting in March of 2020 to keep your facility running, to keep your employees safe, and to keep producing the bottles?
Yeah, well, you touched on it. The main thing was keeping our employees safe. So, as we know, it came on quickly and we had to adjust very, very quickly to ensure the safety of our individuals. So obviously mask usage, we took temperatures at the door. We had to reimagine how we did some routine tasks to ensure that we were social distance from each other as well. It kind of changed our perception on cleaning and airborne diseases, bathrooms and workstations. were cleaned multiple times a day to ensure, no contact with the disease. Obviously, there were very strict protocols around food and when you could eat food, where you could eat food, when removing your mask. It really changed the way we work, but I'm just very, very thankful for the people here. They're not the people that you're going to see on social media or on TV, but they provided essential service and they came to work every single day to provide glass beer bottles to the masses. And, I'm just very, very thankful that I get to work with such excellent people.
And really they're essential. Your employees and yourself are essential to the work you do every day at the facility, but being deemed essential by the government was a very important part of keeping the doors open and the glass coming out of there.
Yes, absolutely. And when COVID first started, right, nobody was really sure where that line was going to be drawn as far as who was essential and who was not essential. We believe they made the right decision, and we were happy to keep running. We just needed to make sure that we had the protocols and processes in place to keep everybody safe.
Around COVID, you talked a little bit about some of the important aspects of your facility to the community. But around COVID, how did you respond to the community's needs?
So one of the major things that we did, involving the community is as the vaccinations were becoming more available to everybody, we teamed up with a couple of the larger businesses around here, and were able to get enough interest from plant employees and then other businesses around to get a mobile trailer where you're able to get vaccines just a mile down the road. So it made it much more accessible for everybody. We had easy sign-up times for 2 days, and we're able to get quite a few people vaccinated in the plant and the surrounding area.
Oh, very good. There's a couple questions coming in. That's fascinating. So you were able to work with the town leaders there to find a way to bring the vaccines to non-OI employees and OI employees.
Yes, correct. So we just teamed up with the community, and they're like, hey, if you have this amount of interest, we can get a trailer to you. So immediately we're hitting the floor. Vaccines available, please sign up. And they're, everybody's kind of jumping at the opportunity, because at that point it was very difficult to get a vaccine. I know when I was going online, you'd pick a time slot and then it'd be filled before you could even get your information in. So no, that was very, very helpful.
So you didn't think when you were at Clemson that you'd be majoring in economics, that you'd be finding ways to get vaccines to people in a pandemic. How did your job change as the plant manager? It sounds like it may have, like for so many of us, you wound up doing new things and learning new skills.
Yes, it changed rapidly too. I think airborne diseases and illnesses were not that high on my importance list, right? When this first started, and within 3 days, that became the #1 priority going forward for, what is it, a year and a month at this point. Like I said earlier, we had to kind of rework and reimagine how we did daily tasks to make sure people were 6 feet apart. How are we going to, wear masks if we're doing something in a hot environment? What kind of face shield do we need? It just made me more cognizant of the way diseases can travel and ways to prevent those. And obviously, cleaning is such an important part of what we do anyway, but this really ramped it up, right? So we want to make sure that the workstations are clean when new employees get there, so that we're not passing any potential diseases or germs on to the next one. I think it just changed our perception of safety as well. I will say that even though it had its challenges, it was definitely a learning and growing opportunity for me and the rest of the leaders in this plant.
So as the leader, I'm just curious, as the leader of the facility, you needed to communicate with your employees what was going to happen in March, and I'm sure still to today. How did you do that? I mean, you needed to keep folks apart. You needed to keep them safe. They needed to have proper gear on to deal with the pandemic and their job. How did you communicate with those 150 people so that they understood what your thinking was and what they needed to do?
Yeah, that absolutely presented a challenge for us, right? So a lot of flyers, a lot of handing people information because you can't be more than 6 feet, and then it's also follow up as well with our the people on shift to ensure that they understand the rules and the new protocols in place because it happened so quickly. We wanted to give people an opportunity to read that, but then we had to act very, very quickly to ensure that we were following those CDC guidelines. And then, it's about driving those protocols, and everybody here understood the risks and the dangers and were very, very helpful in ensuring people here stayed safe.
Did the facility have any time of interruption, even back at the start of the pandemic?
No, we were very, very lucky. So production never stopped for any COVID cases. So in that sense, we were very, very lucky. And, I put some of that down to, our people being safe and also conscientious of one another's health.
And you could also put it down, I imagine, strongly to the culture of safety that's already in the facility, just given the work you do.
Yes, absolutely. So, adding another PPE layer wasn't as big of a deal for us when we're already wearing 5 or 6 or 7 different kinds of PPE. And there's already, as you said, very, strict safety protocols. So that's already kind of ingrained into us that, hey, our first job is to keep our people safe. And, similarly, we want to keep, the person right next to us safe.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you still in sort of COVID mode in terms of the operations? And when do you think that will change?
We're absolutely still in COVID mode, mass social distance, cleaning the whole 9 yards. And, I'm not sure when it will end. I know I will be excited when it does end, but, at this point, it looks like we're heading in the right direction, but who knows, right?
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about that post-COVID time for your work and your facility, but we have a number of questions that I want to take up here, if you wouldn't mind. Let's see. Sarah asks, any plans to make an unbreakable, damage-resistant glass beer bottle? Wow. That's an interesting question. Is it possible?
Big ask. That's what we strive to do every single day, right? Unfortunately, we make bottles that if you take a hammer to it, it will break. But, in normal consumption and normal use, they will not break.
So a few questions about recycling, Austin. Let's see. The first is, there are a couple here about glass not being part of the residential recycling scheme in the communities where these folks live. Why are recyclers why do recyclers stop taking glass in a single stream system?
So typically, and this, I'm just leaning on my experience from what I read in the Greensboro situation, glass is heavy. And if you are looking to cut costs as a recycler, you will stop picking up glass. And then that glass, in turn, if you do not set up drop-off locations, will go to the landfill. So, I think it's slightly irresponsible to just cancel glass recycling in areas just because of the weight of it. But, that's where we come in, and we try to set up locations where people can recycle. And given the amount of support it's had in the locations that I mentioned, people definitely want to recycle their glass.
Yeah. Particularly when when the recycled content is so high in each of your glass bottles. That's a remarkable statistic to see. 35-40% of your facility, and then in some facilities even higher recycled content. That's really what you're striving to do, right? Get that recycled content back into the next bottle.
Absolutely. We want to have all facilities at 50% recycled content by 2030. So that's a
Chris?
lofty goal, and we're going to need everybody's help to do that.
Yes, indeed, 50%. Chris, who lives in Hagerstown, Washington County, says, please see what you can do to get glass back in the recycling system there. So we will work on that as industry partners with the Glass Packaging Institute and O-I. Let's see, another question here. I've heard that a bottle has a reaction to black light. Is this possible?
I have seen one.
Danielle, sorry.
I have seen one bottle that, I do not know how they made it, but, and it was an O-I bottle, but they took a black light to it and that thing lit purple. It was pretty awesome. I need to find that out. I'm not I'm not privy to that information right now.
Danielle liked your line, glass is not trash. Glass isn't trash. She says it's a wonderful statement and it is so true. So let's talk a little bit about post-COVID. How are you planning for that eventuality that you're really looking forward to and all the rest of us are? How does the Danville facility look different or seem different in a post-COVID environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is that, once we move past COVID, that 15 or 10% of our time or our effort that is going towards, COVID mitigation, we can then apply back to, to other resources in the plant. But one of the most important thing is we'll actually be able to celebrate stuff with people again. We have many things to celebrate in this plant and the plants around the world. And right now, it's kind of a wave, hey, great job from afar. And I think we're looking forward to getting back closer together and sharing those moments.
Have there been community events or events that you sponsor that have been postponed or didn't happen?
Yes. So there's a Brew Leaf brewery festival in Danville that we're a sponsor of, and that was last year. That was canceled. A couple golf tournaments that have been canceled. So it's been rough on our involvement in the community as far as gatherings and stuff.
On a personal note, what are you looking most forward to doing after COVID's over?
Just doing normal things, maybe like hugging somebody, every once in a while. I don't know. But obviously, going to concerts or even, a baseball game, football game. I did go to Clemson and we are very good right now. So I wouldn't mind going to a Clemson football game.
I bet not. Well, Austin Stein of O-I's facility in Danville, Virginia, we're very pleased to have you here. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Any closing notes for our viewers out there about glass or O-I or things in Danville?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. This was a lot of fun. And, I think we touched on some great points. Just remember, recycle that glass. And, we're a big believer in the Beer Institute and what you guys do. And we're just thankful that you involved us.
Glass isn't trash, Austin. So thank you very much. Thanks for being here with us today on the You Want to Know a Beer Industry Employee webcast. Thank you for what you do to put our great tasting products in your wonderful containers. And we really appreciate your time today. So for the viewers out there, thanks for taking the time also to come in to learn a little bit more about O-I and the glass making process and the beer industry. So we really appreciate that. Watch your emails for our next episode of the You Want to Know a Beer Industry Employee. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Cheers. All the best.
Cheers. Thank you.